Good morning. Just going to get into some of the political fumbling that's been going on. I think it's fumbling on both sides, actually, the U.S. and Canada. I think it was unexpected. So Carney is going to retaliate dollar for tariffs, and we all know what tariffs do. They just make life more expensive, and very likely loss of jobs too. So Greer disputes Carney's comment as U.S. offered too little, too late. Some of the things that they're talking about were part of the even Kuzma, as far as the uh, transshipments, you name it. There's lots of things that were discussed earlier. U.S. could have suspended a 50% tariff on Canada dairy wine, but and again, there's some problems with both sides. The U.S. never, since the Kuzma agreement was in, never got to the trade quota to get the high tariffs anyway. I think they just want that irritant gone, and there's a few things that they could have done. U.S. seems to have wanted a trade deal with Canada as a whole, but and again, I still think it might be this dairy situation more than it is anything else, but we'll have to see here.
More about what the United States was demanding Canada do with its other trading partners. Were they asking us to impose tariffs on other countries in conjunction with them?
Tom, there were elements of that, and in certain sectors. And to be clear, there were elements where we would see the merit of that as part of a comprehensive deal that made sense for Canada. So if you have an integrated auto market and you want to have an integrated steel market, for example, related aluminum market, then and you have concerns, as we do, as the Americans do, about non-market economies, about transshipment of steel, for example, through.
Yes. Here, the CBC just posted how many job losses, but they actually got more specific where those job losses are very likely going to be impacted, and the top three are the ones that are going to maybe put the most pressure on hey, elbows up here. Ontario, Quebec, BC. It seems, where there is some production, it's just going to be basically shut down. I've showed you the graph of productivity in Canada. It's just falling apart. There's only a few areas in Canada that's actually producing anything, and productivity is going to next to nothing. It's all moving to the U.S. And here's the sectors that are going to get hit: plastics, rubbers, furniture, textiles, clothing, computer. Yeah, it just keeps on getting shut down.
And rubber products manufacturing, it says minus 4.6K. 4,600 jobs could be lost. For instance, transportation looks at about 5,000 jobs lost.
Wow, yeah, the trickle effect is amazing when you really expand to see the true effects and impacts here.
36,000 jobs in Ontario could be lost. Quebec looking at a loss of 18,000 jobs. BC, 11,000 jobs. Alberta, 9,000 jobs. Look, I can sit here and I can say to you and I can say to folks, oh, you're relatively well off in this particular cause. If you lost your job because of these tariffs or previous tariffs, of course it matters to you. If you are a small honey producer, honey is being impacted here. You and I have talked to people in the honey industry, producers whose entire business is gone now because of these tariffs. That is a very personal thing for you.
Yeah, you can't discount the job losses that are going to happen. Putin says Ukraine opened Pandora's box with strikes on economic targets, and that is nowhere near ending. But I think this escalation probably needed to happen probably a few years ago to try to get this to a head. Now, I don't know if this hitting and limiting exports through the Black Sea and hitting oil refineries, all that stuff, because it's going back and forth, and grain is getting hit too. Mediator at Pakistan to hold talks in Iran on U.S. economic D-Day. So oil pulled back over the weekend, knowing that these sanctions are going to come on. But it's actually, like we went back to some of the highs that we were at, and you can see it later in some of the charts that we got towards the top end of the range. Pro farmer. These are some of the results here. Just the yield versus what the USDA came in at, so or what their current yields are as well. The biggest one is the corn. The big difference from where the current USDA is versus the estimates from Pro Farmer. A quick look at the weather. There's some showers going across the northern plains, just light showers. Basically just going to stall any little bit of harvest. Humidity is high, not good drying days at all. Here you can see the weather build here, and you can see that Manitoba is basically going to have all its cropland hit here by the end of the month here, and then it builds a little stronger here as well. But heat to the south is a contentious issue, so this cold actually basically exits as we play this here, and then just end up with above normal temperatures. Still, west versus east here. Here's your the spring wheat belt. You can see that it's in the next 7 days, but then there's that build of 7 to 14. So you can see canola, bad day on Friday, gap so far, and downward move here towards the 23.6 retracement value. Now, where is it going to get caught here? I'm going to say if that's following crude oil or whatever. You got European rapeseed actually fall that same gap and jump down as well. But when you look at the soybean oil, it did fall apart, but it's still within this range here as well, this upward wedge. And yet soybeans really have not had that big range of trade. So if there's going to be something that's going to save it, it's this or the palm oil. So the other seeds that are getting grown, besides the directly related rapeseed and canola, those two fell apart, but the rest of this other complex is not as of right now. Here's your crude oil that I was talking about. We basically somewhat rejected this pivot point extension line here, getting caught in this wedge. But you got the diesel fuel pulled back from its highs that it made on Friday, but it's still high for sure. Same thing with gasoline. Canadian dollar did pull back with the failed talks. Now, if this continues to fall apart, you'll fall down some more, I would think. But the market does not seem to be too worried about not having U.S. relations any better than they already are. Gold futures seem to be taking off here as well, or at least a nice leg to get started here. Corn futures is the feature here. So corn maybe counter seasonal with a lower yield, good exports, all that stuff is helping the cereal market here. So here's your corn, your continuous chart, and it's blown through some of these other areas. Now we're looking at multi-year highs here for corn. So I'm going to show you, here's your front month and the percentage that it's moved up. Like we're trying to get to the 78.6 retracement value, but when you look at the continuous, we're at the top end here. So, and you can see the same thing here for the Kansas. The Kansas looks like we're getting to the top end here. On the continuous, it actually looks like it's breaking out. Same thing here with the Chicago. We're a little ways from hitting the top end, but we're right at the top end when we're trying to break out on the continuous chart. Here's your European rapeseed or European French wheat, and there's big gaps in their continuous chart. It's a very lightly traded, kind of broken. This is the only slide I'm going to show on here. There is a cattle on feed is very likely to help this market, but you also have the opening up of the border, so it's uncertain what this is going to do for the cattle market.